Hello everyone, I hope you're having a nice Wednesday. Wednesday here on my channel means it's time for a Crack-A-Pack, and we open up a pack of Amonkhet here and we decide what we would take out of this pack one, pick one if this is what we were getting. Don't forget that in the comments below you can enter to win all of this month's Crack-A-Packs just by posting below. Alright, so our first common is Pathmaker Initiate. Perfectly reasonable, common, it's playable in any red aggressive deck, but you don't want to be first picking it at all. You'll get one probably in your 2-drop slot. You're not excited or upset about having it, but you definitely don't want to first pick it. Mighty Leap, sort of similar thing. It's a fine card in an aggressive deck. It's a good combat trick in those decks, but you don't want to be first picking it. There's very rarely combat tricks that are good enough to be first picked. There are a few. Let me see if we have one in this pack, but Mighty Leap isn't one of them. Ancient Crab, again, similarly, like the first 3 cards we've looked at are all cards that are like, yeah, I'll play that in my deck, but I'm not going to mainboard it. I've had some good experiences with Ancient Crab in decks that are slow, grindy decks that try to win in the air, or try to grind out value with like Bounty of the Luxor or something. And I've run 2 or 3 of them in those decks and been perfectly fine. But you don't want to be first picking it. Once again, you'll get it late. Okay. Next we have Desert Cerodon, and now we're getting into a card, a red playable that you feel better about. I mean, a 6-mana 6/4 is not great. In any other format, you wouldn't really want this, but it has 1 red cycling, meaning it does something at all stages of the game. If you need to cycle it, that's fine. If you have cycling payoffs, that's even better. But if you just need to cast a big creature in the late game, he can do that too. Right now, he's what I would first pick out of this pack. Hopefully it doesn't stay that way. It would have to be a very weak pack. Next, we have Initiate's Companion. Again, this is the kind of 2-drop you'll play in a lot of green decks. I don't know if I've ever seen once, and I'm at least 20 drafts into the format right now, a person actually get to trigger the ability of Initiate's Companion. I'm sure it happens sometimes, but obviously, usually he's just going to die in combat or trade with something. And he's fine at doing those things. But again, you don't want to first pick him. Next, we have Dune Beetle, as the parade of mediocrity continues. Dune Beetle is slightly better than he looks, especially in the black-green deck, because you can put -1/-1 counters all over him, and he's still around. Still, don't want to be first picking it, and I would still take Desert Cerodon over it. Okay, well now we're having something that, for me, is better than Desert Cerodon, and that is Greater Sandworm. It has a higher cycling than our Cerodon does, but it's a way more impactful creature. It's bigger, it does cost 1 more mana, but it's also not that easy for people to kill. Usually it can't be triple blocked because they have creatures who are too small to do it. I've won a lot of games with Greater Sandworms in this format, more than I thought I would. It's quite a good card. All right, now we're on a first pick I feel really good about, and that is Cartouche of Strength. It's definitely the best cartouche in the cycle. It's very powerful. It lets you have a fight effect. One way to know this card is good is that if it were just 3 mana and give a creature +1/+1 and trample until end of turn and fight, it would still be a very good card. But it's actually a permanent stats boost, so it's even better. So Cartouche of Strength is what we're looking at right now. Next, we have Evolving Wilds. This card is, sort of the best fixing in the format, really. And if you want to splash, it doesn't hurt to pick one up around the middle part of a pack, but you definitely don't want to be first picking Evolving Wilds either. Next, we have Impeccable Timing. A mediocre removal spell that you'll run if you're short on removal. Otherwise, you don't really want it. You definitely don't want to first pick it. It's better in an aggressive deck than it is in a non-aggressive deck because you can get people to block and blow their blockers out of the way and stuff. Gate to the Afterlife is next. I have yet to play this card or play against it. It doesn't seem completely terrible to me, but it's not anything I'm interested in either. So, not planning on playing it. Okay, we have an Aftermath card, Spring to Mind. This card's pretty good if you're actually in blue-green, because you get to fix your mana and ramp early, and then in the late game you can cash in the other half for a couple cards, and I like that a lot. I like grindy decks. You know that if you watch my draft videos, most of them end up being grindy decks, and Spring to Mind is perfect in those decks, but Cartouche of Strength is still better. Next, we have Lay Bare the Heart, which is actually a playable discard spell. We don't get a lot of those in Limited, but I think this is a playable discard spell. It hits enough stuff in our opponent's hand. Still don't want to be first picking it, but around the middle of the pack, I don't hate taking Lay Bare the Heart. And our rare, well, we're going to take our rare. Our rare is Cut to Ribbons. This thing is incredibly good. Even if you can only play the cut half, it's one of the best removal spells in the format. Probably the most efficient removal spell in the format. And if you can cast the ribbons half, I guess I rotate it that way, in the late game, it just sort of becomes a ticking time bomb for your opponent, because early game you kill their creature, then you're on turn 8, and all of a sudden your opponent's at 10, and they start to realize that you can just kill them with ribbons out of your graveyard. Again, a reason that this is first pickable, some of these Aftermath cards aren't, because, you know, one half isn't good enough, but this half, the first half alone is good. Adding ribbons to it makes it even better. So again, in the comments below, let me know what you would first pick out of this pack. I kind of see a hard argument for anything other than cut to ribbons, but tell me what your second best pick would be. For me, it's the cartouche after that. And remember to post in the comments below if you want to be entered into a giveaway to win all of the cards from the month of May's Crack-A-Packs. Thanks for watching.